Chosen one, when you shut the door to sexual indulgence, not in shame, not out of fear, but in revelation of who you are, something ancient in the spirit realm begins to crack. The darkness that once whispered and wove itself around your desires begins to scatter in confusion. Because it's not just that you stopped having sex, it's that you stopped agreeing with the narrative hell had written for you. You see, the enemy doesn't only aim to stain your body, he wants to weaken your authority. He knows that every time you pour out your sacred fire into the wrong place, you don't just lose pleasure, you leak purpose. And purpose, chosen one, is what terrifies him most. The enemy knows that if you ever became still, truly still, you'd hear something deeper. You'd hear God's voice without interference. You'd feel the weight of your name without distortion. You'd see the plan of heaven with piercing clarity. That's why lust was never just about sex. It was about static, about keeping you noisy, distracted, fragmented. But now you've gone silent, and that silence has disarmed the darkness. This is not the silence of repression. It is not the quiet of defeat. This is the sacred stillness of a man who has taken his fire back from the pit, a man who has stopped leaking power through impulse and has started walking in holy restraint. The kind of restraint that doesn't make you soft, it makes you dangerous. Because now, hell has no sound to follow. You're no longer reactive. You're no longer predictable. You're no longer tossing your strength into situations that cheapen you. You've vanished from the enemy's radar, and that terrifies him. Your silence is a signal. It says, I'm no longer feeding the beast. It says, I've remembered I was handpicked by God. It says, I am not a vessel of lust. I am a carrier of legacy. You're not just being quiet, you're becoming surgical. Precision is returning to your thoughts. Fire is returning to your bones. Your eyes no longer dart for affirmation. Your feet no longer wander for validation. You've planted yourself in purpose, and that stillness is now heaven's strongest weapon. What hell once used to manipulate you no longer moves you. You don't flinch at the sight of temptation anymore. You don't chase shadows. You don't respond to what does not serve your soul. You've grown silent, not because you lack desire, but because your desire has matured. And that maturity has created a wall of flame around you. It has burned every rope the enemy once used to pull you. Now your silence speaks louder than your shouts ever did. Your quiet refusal is more powerful than 1,000 sermons. Hell doesn't fear your talk, it fears your transformation. Because in your stillness, the heavens have drawn close, and wherever heaven comes close, demons must scatter. You have entered into the rare spiritual territory of a man who no longer needs to announce his anointing. You carry it, you embody it, you rest in it. And in that rest, you are more effective than you ever were in noise. Chosen one, your silence has disarmed darkness. Keep it holy, keep it sharp, keep it clean. Because from this silence, God is about to release a voice that cannot be ignored. Chosen one, what you did when you said no to sexual compromise wasn't just a moment of strength. It was an act of war. It was the slamming shut of a spiritual gate that had been cracked open for years. A gate demons walked through freely. A gate where your identity had once been tampered with. A gate where your mind, your emotions, and your destiny were siphoned little by little every time you gave your sacred energy away. But not anymore. You have sealed the gate, and that seal has caused a rupture in the hellish blueprint written against your name. The gate you closed wasn't just physical, it was spiritual, it was emotional, it was generational. You didn't just resist a feeling, you broke a contract. And that contract had clauses signed by ancestors who didn't know how to say no. You were the first to break it. You were the first to say, this ends with me. And the moment you did, angels were dispatched. Not just to surround you, but to stand on the gate you closed. To make sure the enemy doesn't return with a new name or a more charming face. This gate used to swing wide open in the night. Lust knew how to creep in when you were tired. It waited until you were weak, until you were lonely, until your purpose felt too far and your desires too near. It came to steal clarity, to trade your fire for fog, and you let it in until one day you didn't. Until one day you looked at the pattern and saw the trap. Until one day your spirit woke up and said, I will no longer rent out my temple for moments that cost my throne. And on that day, the gate was sealed. You must understand what this means now. Nothing enters without your permission. Nothing touches you without your awareness. You have regained authority over your border. What was once a revolving door is now a consecrated wall. And walls are not just protection. They are a sign to darkness that territory is claimed. You are now claimed. Fully. Heaven has staked its flag in your soul. God has written his name on your chest. And the gate that once led to compromise now leads only to the throne. You are not empty. You are guarded. You are not deprived. You are dedicated. The enemy can no longer exploit your hunger because your hunger is now directed at holiness, not indulgence. You've turned your craving for connection into a craving for covenant. You've redirected your need from physical affirmation to spiritual alignment. And because of that, the gate that once invited warfare now signals victory. Chosen one, your temple is sealed. Your spirit is covered. Your name is surrounded. The gate is no longer loose on its hinges. It is fortified with fire, and hell knows it. Chosen one, when you made the decision to stop giving your body to lust, something in the invisible realm began to unravel. Not because of a dramatic gesture, not because of a thunderous shout, but because you chose, in the stillness of your spirit, to reclaim what was always yours, sovereignty. And that one decision, made in silence, without applause, without witnesses, made demonic forces lose their grip on your life. You see, the enemy never needed to destroy you quickly. He just needed to keep you bound long enough to delay you. That was the strategy, not to break you overnight, but to slowly seduce your fire into smoke. Every time you gave in to that voice, that image, that late-night urge, the grip around your purpose tightened. Not because you were weak, but because you were unaware of your worth. But something happened. You saw it, maybe not all at once, but clearly enough. You recognized the trap beneath the touch. You sensed the chain hidden in the comfort. You heard the lie whispering beneath the momentary high. And in that moment, you made a decision, not a loud one, but a holy one. Not a public vow, but an eternal shift. You said no more. And that no didn't just shake your flesh, it shook the hands that held you. The grip that lust once had on your identity, it began to slip. The demons once sent to distract you, they stumbled, because they knew something sacred had returned to you. Your will, your fire, your voice. Now every day you uphold that decision, their hold weakens more. The spirit of confusion that once crept into your mind during moments of compromise is now losing its influence. The exhaustion, the shame, the guilt that once followed you like shadows are now starving for access. Because you've closed the circuit, you've cut the agreement. This decision you've made is not about denying desire, it's about reclaiming design. You were never meant to be led by appetite. You were meant to be led by assignment. And now that you've remembered who you are, hell is losing track of you. There are spirits right now that no longer know how to reach you. They whisper, but your spirit doesn't flinch. They knock, but the gate doesn't open. You don't even respond the way you used to. Why? Because you've grown into your authority. And when a chosen one grows into authority, every grip that once held him must fall off or be burned by the fire he now carries. Don't mistake temptation for failure. It's not that you're failing, it's that they're losing. Their grip is slipping, their plan is unraveling, and your decision is echoing louder every day in the unseen realm. Chosen one, hold the line. Stand in the choice you made. Don't look back at what tried to own you. Because every time you say no to the counterfeit, you say yes to what's truly yours. Every time you close the door, the grip weakens. Every time you stay still, the enemy loses another foothold in your destiny. This is the power of your decision. It didn't just free your body. It's freeing your entire bloodline. Chosen one, this battle was never just about you. The enemy didn't send lust your way because you were weak. It came because you were the chosen interruption. You were marked to be the one who ends what generations before you learned to tolerate. You weren't just wrestling against urges, you were wrestling against patterns older than your name. For years, maybe for decades, maybe longer, a cycle has repeated itself through your bloodline. Men with promise falling to impulse, dreams aborted by seduction, marriages hollowed out by secret compromise, callings delayed by hidden shame. And through it all, the enemy wove a lie. This is just who you are. You can't escape this. But now you've shattered that narrative. You've disrupted what was expected. You've broken the rhythm of defeat with a decision to stand. And that decision did not simply change your life, it collapsed a system. You are the first in a long line to say no more. You are the one heaven trusted to draw the sword. You are the one God marked to stand on the ashes of what consumed your fathers and refused to burn. That's why the pressure felt heavier. That's why the temptation felt tailored. That's why the warfare came in waves. Because the devil knew that if you ever recognized the cycle and chose to end it, the chain would snap. Not just for you, but for those behind you. And now, chosen one, that's exactly what's happening. You've ended the cycle. And because of that, the curse has no more host. The generational tie has no more agreement. The demon that once visited your grandfather's bed, your uncle's decisions, your father's struggle, has now met a wall it cannot pass. That wall is you. It may have touched you, but it did not take you. It may have flirted with your fire, but it did not extinguish it. You felt the pull, but you refused to collapse. And that refusal has now rewritten your future. You are not a victim of your bloodline. You are its new chapter. You are not repeating the story. You are rewriting it with your obedience. You are not hiding the shame. You are dismantling its root. And your children will not fight what you fought. Your legacy will not limp where you bled. There is a new sound in heaven because of you. It is not the sound of applause. It is the sound of doors opening that had been sealed by iniquity. It is the sound of chains hitting the floor. Chosen one, you didn't just say no to a moment, you said yes to a movement. One that will echo far beyond your lifetime. One that will stretch through time and testify that someone stood and the cycle ended with them. You are that one. You are the interruption. You are the answer to prayers prayed by ancestors who didn't know how to break free. And now, because of you, freedom has begun to flow through your family tree, like blood through new veins. The cycle is over, and you, chosen one, are the proof it can end. Chosen one, the greatest shift in your entire journey is not that you stopped touching others, it's that you stopped being touched by impulse. For the first time, the flesh no longer leads. The body, once the loudest voice in the room, has been brought into submission, and with that submission comes dominion. This isn't about suppression. Suppression is when you shove something deep without healing it. No, this is governance. This is what happens when a king returns to his throne and tells the wild soldiers of his kingdom, "Peace, I rule here now." Your thoughts once bowed to urges. Your focus once danced to the rhythm of distraction. But now there is stillness. Authority, alignment. The flesh speaks, but it no longer decides. You've entered rare territory. Most men never taste this realm, not because it's impossible, but because it requires silence, fire, and vision. It requires letting the fire refine rather than consume. And you've done that. You've stopped letting arousal become addiction. You've stopped letting fantasy lead your footsteps. You've stopped allowing physical hunger to hijack your spiritual assignment. Now you move with purpose. You walk with the grace of someone under authority. And that authority is not external. It comes from the throne within you. The throne that was once occupied by appetite is now seated with presence. The presence of God, the clarity of purpose, the unshakable knowledge that you are not your urges, you are your choices. And that's the secret the devil didn't want you to discover. Because once you realize that your body is not your ruler, you become untouchable. Hell doesn't just tempt flesh, it uses flesh to cloud vision. But now that your spirit leads, your vision cuts through the fog. You see clearer, you hear sharper, you respond slower, but when you move, it pierces darkness. Your voice has gained weight, your prayers have gained fire. Your silence now intimidates what once seduced you. Because when the flesh no longer leads, the spirit begins to speak with thunder. You'll notice how different the world feels now. Not because it has changed, but because you have. What once appealed to you now repulses. What once entertained you now grieves you. That's not boredom. It's elevation. You are ascending. And on higher ground, the noise of the flesh grows faint. You are no longer led by your reactions. You are led by your response to truth. You are no longer a storm of appetites. You are a temple of order. And that order cannot be broken by lust because it is kept by fire. Chosen one, this isn't weakness. This is war. Every time you deny what once ruled you, you strike down a prince in the enemy's kingdom. And the enemy knows. A man no longer led by flesh is a man who can carry nations on his back and not collapse. Keep walking, keep ruling. Let the flesh speak if it must. It speaks from a place of defeat now. And your spirit has the final word. Chosen one, when you brought your body under spiritual command, heaven didn't just take notice, it reorganized itself around you. There were angels that had been stationed on standby, waiting, watching, held back by the laws of obedience. Because God's messengers move where purity makes room. And the moment you chose to consecrate your temple, those angels were released. You must understand this. Angels are not emotional. They don't move based on intentions. They move based on alignment. And when you stopped offering your strength to lust, when you made your inner world holy ground again, they were redeployed to defend, direct, and deliver you into new territory. You may have wondered why your atmosphere feels different, why you've begun to feel a sacred stillness around your home, your bed, your prayer life. That's not just peace, that's protection. That's not just clarity, that's company. You are not walking alone anymore. Heaven has reinforced your field. There are angels now standing in the places where you once fell, not judging, not condemning, guarding. You used to cry in that room, bound by urges, weighed down by guilt. Now that same room has become a place of fire. Not because you lit a match, but because heaven has lit a lamp inside you and they have come to shield it. These angels have specific assignments. Some are messengers, ready to deliver clarity at the appointed time. Some are protectors, silencing warfare before it ever reaches your door. Some are watchers, guarding your dreams from the residue of your past because your dreams now hold divine information. And others are builders, preparing doors that only a consecrated man can walk through. Don't ignore the small miracles that begin to happen now, the conversation that flows at the perfect time, the opportunity that presents itself without your effort, the temptation that once overtook you, now suddenly silenced. These are not coincidences. These are the signs of angelic movement. You have been surrounded, not by fear, not by old soul ties, but by heaven's army. And they're not just protecting what you've done. They are invested in who you are becoming. Your fire has drawn them. Your surrender has armed them. Your discipline has given them access. And here's the mystery. While the enemy tried to seduce you with the illusion of power, your real power was in the surrender of control. Hell wanted your body exposed. But now that your body is hidden in obedience, angels can be revealed in warfare. This is why you'll begin to see more clearly in the spirit. Why discernment will sharpen. Why people's intentions will show themselves faster. Because your eyes are not guarded by filters anymore. They are guarded by flames. Chosen one, walk as one protected. Walk as one surrounded. Walk as one whose very posture has summoned heaven into motion. You are no longer unguarded territory. You are fortified space. You are no longer a man being rescued. You are a man being led by the host of heaven. And the angels that now walk with you don't follow the lost, they follow the called. You chose purity. And heaven chose to reinforce your path with fire. Chosen one, there is mourning in hell, and it has nothing to do with your prayers or your worship. It has everything to do with your decision. The demons assigned to you did not expect it. They calculated based on your past patterns, your emotional weaknesses, the secret battles you thought were hidden. They rehearsed your temptations like scripts, confident you'd never close the door. But when you finally said no, fully, finally, without loophole or compromise, they realized something catastrophic. They lost territory. You must understand this. The territory they mourn is not land. It's you. Your body was a territory. Your mind was a field. Your desires were highways they once traveled freely. But now every entry point has been boarded by fire. Every open door has become a sealed covenant. And in the underworld, that kind of loss does not go unnoticed. Hell invests in habits. It builds slowly through compromise. It takes its time training your appetites to become needs. And once those needs begin to rule you, it fortifies itself around them. Until you decided, in quiet defiance, to tear it all down. No explosion, no ceremony, just one fierce, unwavering choice. And that choice triggered a funeral in the realm of darkness. Demons do not cry tears, but they groan, they tremble, they rage when they lose their grip on a chosen one. And this month, they are mourning not just because of what you walked away from, but because of what you walked into. They see it now. They see the light forming around you, the angels stationed, the clarity rising, the discipline growing strong like steel beneath your skin. You are no longer their host. You are no longer their doorway. You have become a sealed gate, and their frustration is not just emotional, it is strategic. Because while you walked in circles for years, they thrived. While you remained in cycles, they grew bold. But now the cycle has broken. Now your ground is reclaimed. Now your soul is cleaned, claimed, and covered. Don't mistake the enemy's return visits as your failure. They are desperate attempts to regain what they've lost. But every time you resist, every time you say no, every time you turn from old habits, the mourning deepens. They lose more power, more ground, more authority. And here's what terrifies them most. They know you're never going back. They can feel the resolve in your silence. They can see the covenant etched in your spirit. They see that you've been re-identified in the spirit realm. Not as the broken one, not as the compromised one, but as the one who remembered who he was before the fall. And that remembering is destructive to every lie they built around you. Chosen one, walk boldly in this grief you've caused hell. Not arrogantly, but with sacred confidence. For every night you rest in purity, a principality loses authority. For every hour you remain in alignment, another stronghold is weakened. They will mourn. Let them. You are no longer their vessel. You are now heaven's fortified ground, and no demon can trespass what's been reclaimed by blood and decision. Chosen one, what was once scattered has been gathered. What was once wasted on moments, images, and impulses has now been drawn inward like a great wind coming back into its source. You have reclaimed your fire, and that fire is no longer wild. It is no longer rebellious. It no longer burns just to feel alive. It is governed now, and that is what makes it terrifying to darkness. The enemy knew you had fire. He saw it early. That's why he came for you with seduction before you could ever understand your power. He tried to redirect your heat into lust, to make you associate your flame with shame, to make you think that being intense was being broken. That craving was a curse. But God was never afraid of your fire. He just wanted it back in your hands. And now it is. This fire, once spilled carelessly, is now fuel for destiny. It no longer drips from your fingertips into the hands of strangers who didn't deserve your essence. It no longer flickers in lustful thoughts that go nowhere. It is focused, clean, holy. It burns now in your voice, in your discipline, in your eyes. People feel it when you speak and don't know why. They feel weight, presence, intensity, not performance but pure heat. And here's the mystery. You didn't lose desire when you turned away from lust. You found the original flame it had been trying to imitate. The fire that builds worlds, the fire that forges nations, the fire that purifies, that protects, that leads without fear. You are not cold now. You are refined. You are not suppressed. You are strategic. Your desires haven't disappeared. They've been reprogrammed by heaven. What once pulled you down now pushes you forward. What once weakened you now sharpens your insight. And this is why the enemy is terrified. Because he remembers what you were like when your fire was untamed. And now that fire has a mission. Now that fire answers to purpose. You are not moved by fantasy anymore. You are moved by the future God is calling you to forge. This fire will protect your family. It will expose liars. It will silence false voices. It will raise kings and correct fools. It will walk into corrupt spaces and cleanse them without raising your voice. Because this is the fire of a man who owns himself again. You've reclaimed what was stolen, diluted, mocked, and now you walk with the authority of one who burns without consuming. You illuminate, you reveal, you purify. Chosen one, guard this fire, feed it truth. Let it speak when necessary, and hold it in sacred stillness when the moment demands mystery. You no longer burn for approval. You burn for alignment, and the world will see it, and hell will fear it. Because your fire, once lost in lust, has now become a holy weapon in the hands of God. Chosen one, there's something powerful that happens when a man doesn't just walk away from sin, but sees through it. What you've done in this season is more than resist temptation. You've exposed the lie that fueled it. And once a lie is exposed in the light, it loses all its power. You were told by darkness that your desires made you weak, that your fire was a flaw, that unless you obeyed the urges, you would be unfulfilled, unloved, or forgotten. You were fed an illusion that sex without covenant was freedom, that pleasure without purpose was harmless, that lust was a need instead of an intruder. But now your eyes are open, and the clarity that once evaded you has now become your sword. You've exposed lust for what it truly is, not a gift, but a thief. Not intimacy, but a transaction. Not comfort, but a contract designed to rob you of divine inheritance. And when you saw it, truly saw it, you didn't just feel regret, you felt righteous rage. Not at yourself, but at the deception that kept you enslaved. And with that anger came a sacred decision: no more. Now every time you say no, you're not just resisting, you're revealing. You are lifting the veil for others who are still trapped. You are becoming the evidence that holiness is not boring, that purity is not weakness, that freedom is not lawlessness, it's alignment. The demons that used to whisper in the dark are now silent, not because they stopped speaking, but because you stopped listening. The noise has been replaced by wisdom. The ache has been answered by peace. And you've realized something the world doesn't want you to know. Lust never loved you. It only pretended to. But truth stayed when you had nothing to offer. Truth remained when you sat in silence, trying to find yourself again. And now that truth is burning in your bones. You are not fragile. You are not easily led. You are no longer a man swayed by images, compliments, or attention. You walk with insight. You look with vision. You speak with weight. And it's not because you've memorized scripture. It's because you've internalized it. The lie has been uncovered. The illusion has shattered. And now, everywhere you go, your presence testifies. Women feel it. Men respect it. Environments shift under it. Not because you're loud, but because your life has become a rebuke to deception. Chosen one, let the truth remain sharp in you. Do not water it down for the comfort of those who still love their chains. Do not soften it to be palatable for those who fear the mirror. You are not here to be liked. You are here to remind the world what it looks like when a man is no longer blind. You've exposed the lie. And now that truth walks with you, there is no going back. Because freedom that comes from clarity is freedom that cannot be stolen again. Chosen one, now that the fire has been reclaimed, the lie has been exposed, and the body has returned to obedience, something irreversible has taken place in your spirit. You have been sealed. Not temporarily. Not until your next mistake. But spiritually sealed by a decision that aligned your life with heaven's rhythm. You no longer walk as a man open to suggestion. You walk as a vessel closed to compromise and open to command. There is oil in you now, pure, preserved, protected. And heaven guards what it seals. This seal isn't visible to all, but the spirit realm recognizes it instantly. You'll notice how certain people can't look you in the eyes anymore. How old friends feel unsettled around your presence. How opportunities with hidden strings attached avoid you entirely. That's because you are marked. You no longer carry the scent of confusion. You smell like consecration. God does not seal what he won't use, and he does not use what remains in disorder. That's why he waited. He waited for you to clean the temple, to sweep out the lust, the fear, the need for approval. And when he saw that your house was empty of idols, he said, "Now I can rest here." You are no longer just a man. You are a dwelling place, a mobile ark, a walking altar. And where you go now, God goes. This is why hell trembles. Not because you stopped having sex, but because you became a vessel they can no longer access. You've been sealed by truth, covered by obedience, surrounded by fire. When you speak, demons recognize the voice of a man who cannot be bought. When you move, angels clear the path for what must be protected. When you pray, heaven listens, not because you beg, but because you belong. And this seal? It's not based on your performance, it's based on your posture. You bowed when no one was watching. You died to self when no one celebrated you. You turned away from offers that would have fed your ego but starved your soul. And God saw it, and he sealed you. Now you move in authority, not the kind that shouts, the kind that shakes principalities, the kind that makes witches nervous and atmospheres cleaner, the kind that makes women feel safe and men feel sharpened. You are no longer wandering. You are stationed. You are no longer tempted by anything that moves. You are anchored in everything that matters. This is the reward of discipline, the glory of restraint, the testimony of a man who remembered that he was never called to chase flesh, but to carry fire. Chosen one, walk sealed, walk filled, walk untouchable. Because when a man is truly sealed by God, the devil no longer writes his story, he only watches it unfold in defeat.